Shut her up! Give that money to your sister! Mom, stop!
The exact moment my mother called the biggest achievement of my life pointless, I stopped begging my family to see me. 2 nights later, every screen in my sister's crowded restaurant showed my face accepting a national award. Then, an open microphone carried my mother's voice across the room as she demanded that someone shut me up and ordered me to hand my prize money to the sister she had always loved more. What happened next did not just ruin a dinner. It ended a lie my family had billing for 29 years. Hello, my name is Claire Bennett. I am 34 years old, and I design emergency communication systems for hospitals, shelters, and smalls across the United States. If a hurricane knocks out cell towers, or a wildfire forces hundreds of people to evacuate in the middle of the night, my work helps warnings reach the people who need them. It is quiet work. Most people never know my name, and that is fine. When the system works, families get home safely. For most of my life, I believed being useful was enough. My younger sister, Natalie, believed being noticed was everything. Natalie was born 5 years after me, with bright blue eyes, golden hair, and the natural ability to make a room turn toward her. My parents called her their little star. They called me dependable. That sounds like praise until you understand how they used the word. Dependable meant I could give up my birthday dinner when Natalie had a dance rehearsal. Dependable meant I could take a bus home from college because my father needed the car for her beauty pageant. Dependable meant I would lend her money, rewrite her college applications, fix her laptop, and smile in family photos even when she pushed me to the edge. Whenever I objected, my mother would say, "Claire, you are strong. Natalie needs us more." Strength became the excuse they used to leave me alone. Years later, Natalie opened a restaurant in Chicago called Lumen, a beautiful place with glass walls, brass lights, velvet chairs, and food designed to look better in photographs than it tasted. My parents invested nearly all their savings in it. I built the restaurant's booking system for free and spent 3 weekends repairing its network before opening night. Natalie thanked the interior designer in her first interview. She never mentioned me. By then, I had learned not to expect it. Then, in January, I received a call from the National Public Safety Foundation. My team and I had developed Beacon Grid, a low-cost emergency alert network that could keep operating when electricity and cell service failed. During tornadoes in 3 rural counties, Beacon Grid had helped move more than 11,000 people into shelters without a single death. The foundation selected me for its National Medal for Civil Protection. When the woman on the phone told me, I sat alone in my office and cried. Not because the medal would make me famous. Because it meant the years mattered. The nights sleeping under my desk, the grant rejections, the field tests in freezing rain, and the time I had spent convincing officials that poor towns deserved the same protection as wealthy cities. The ceremony would be held in Washington, D.C., and broadcast live on the Foundation's website and partner stations. Each recipient received 4 family seats. I called my parents first. My father answered on speakerphone. I could hear my mother opening cabinets in the kitchen. "A national medal," he said, "for computer alarms. Emergency systems," I explained. "It is the Foundation's highest honor." My mother gave a small laugh. "Does it come with anything useful?" "There is a $200,000 project grant." The cabinet stopped. For one hopeful second, I thought they finally understood. Then Mom said, "That money belongs to your company, though. Right? It will fund community installations. The medal is for me." "Well," Dad said, "send us the date." It was not excitement, but I accepted it. I mailed them formal invitations. I booked their flights and a hotel room near the ceremony hall. I also invited my mentor, Dr. Evelyn Ross, and my closest friend, Marcus Lee, who had worked beside me since Beacon Grid was only a drawing on a whiteboard. 3 weeks before the ceremony, Natalie announced that Lumen had been chosen for a feature in a regional lifestyle magazine. The magazine wanted photographs of a charity dinner she was hosting. The dinner was on the same night as my award. At first, I was not worried. My ceremony was in Washington. Natalie's dinner was in Chicago. My parents already had tickets. Then my mother called me to discuss a small scheduling problem. I went to their house that Sunday. They sat me at the kitchen table where they had delivered every painful family decision since I was a child. My father folded his hands. "Natalie needs us at the restaurant." "You already agreed to come to Washington." "That was before the magazine," Mom said. "My ceremony is a national event." She sighed as if I were being difficult. "Claire, be reasonable. Your award is symbolic. Natalie's dinner could bring real customers into her business." "My work helped save 11,000 people." "And we are proud of you?" Dad said without looking proud. "But we have to think about what matters to the family." I stared at the 2 airline confirmations lying beside my mother's hand. I am your family. My mother's expression hardened. Do not turn this into a competition. Natalie has always had to work for visibility. Things come easily to you. I nearly laughed. Nothing had come easily to me. So you are not coming. Dad looked at the wall clock. We can watch a recording later. The ceremony is pointless compared with what is at stake for your sister. Mom added, you are old enough not to need applause. There it was. Pointless. The word landed with surprising calm. Something inside me did not break. It clicked into place. I gathered the airline tickets. What are you doing? Dad asked. Canceling these. The seats can go to people who want to be there. A mom leaned forward. Do not be dramatic. I stood. I spent my whole life trying not to be. As I reached the door, she called after me. Claire, since the grant is more money than your little project needs, you should consider giving some to Natalie. Lumen is carrying debt. I turned around slowly. The grant is legally restricted to public safety installations. There are always ways around paperwork, Dad said. Family should help family. I left without answering. That night, while canceling their travel, I noticed something strange. My father had forwarded my digital ceremony invitation to Natalie's restaurant manager, Owen Price. The message was brief. Can you put this on a small screen in the office, so we can say we watched Claire? Below it, Owen had replied, actually, the Foundation broadcast is already included in Friday's National Public Service feed. Our new media system may carry it automatically. I'll check. I read that sentence twice. Then another email arrived. This one from Natalie. Do not make a scene on Friday. Mom and Dad chose the event that matters. If reporters ask about you, we will say you could not attend because of work. She was planning to erase me even while I stood on a national stage. I closed the email and called Marcus. I need you to help me find out exactly what Lumen is doing with the Foundation's broadcast, I said. He was quiet for a moment. Then he asked, do you want revenge? No, I said. At that moment, I meant it. I want the truth to have a microphone. Marcus discovered the first secret the next morning. Lumen had recently installed a cloud-based media system, connecting 23 screens throughout the restaurant. The system could show menus, sponsor material, private slideshows, or live television. Natalie had paid for it with a city small business technology grant. The company that operated the system was one of the National Public Safety Foundation's broadcast partners. On major award nights, participating public venues received a free live segment promoting emergency preparedness. Lumen had checked the participation box because Owen wanted the restaurant listed on the city's official event map. That meant my acceptance speech was not being forced onto Natalie's screens. She had already agreed to show it. Marcus found something else. Lumen had advertised Friday's dinner as a fundraiser for emergency responders. The magazine believed Natalie was donating 20% of ticket revenue to the foundation. The foundation had no record of the fundraiser. I called the magazine's events editor, Rachel Kim. I did not accuse Natalie of anything. I asked a simple question. Has Lumen registered its benefit dinner with the foundation? Rachel went silent. Natalie told us your organization approached her, she said. I do not work for the foundation. She said you were coordinating the partnership. My stomach tightened. Rachel forwarded the press packet Natalie had given the magazine. It included a letter on foundation stationery and an email with my name in the signature. The letter was fake. The email was fake. Natalie had not only ignored my work, she had used my reputation to promote herself. I remembered every year she had called my job boring. Every dinner where she rolled her eyes when someone asked about Beacon Grid. Every time my parents told me not to embarrass her by sounding too technical. Now my boring work was useful, because a magazine photographer might capture her beside a firefighter. What do you want me to do? Rachel asked. I looked at the false signature. Verify everything, I said, quietly. Please do not cancel the story yet. Why not? Because I think Friday will give you a more accurate story. That afternoon, the foundation's attorney confirmed that the letter was fraudulent. The foundation could have issued a public warning immediately. I asked them to wait until after the live broadcast, provided no donations were collected in their name. They agreed, but only if the restaurant displayed a correction before accepting money. Rachel contacted Owen without mentioning me. She asked for proof of registration and a copy of the donation agreement. Owen, who had managed Lumen for only 6 weeks, sounded genuinely confused. He searched the office. There was no agreement. There was, however, a folder labeled Fondation Partner Sype. Inside it were invoices, press drafts, and a printed email from my mother. Make sure Claire's name is not included anywhere guests can see it. This night is Natalie's opportunity. Owen sent the document to Rachel. Rachel sent it to me. For years, I had wondered whether my family's treatment was unconscious. Maybe Natalie simply demanded more attention. Maybe my parents did not realize how often they chose her. That email answered the question. They knew. They actively removed me. I did not sleep that night. On Wednesday, my father called. Your mother says you have not sent the grant information. Why would I send it? Because we need to see how flexible it is. Natalie owes $87,000 to a private lender. That number shocked me. My parents had already invested more than $300,000 in Lumen. What lender? That is not your concern. Then my grant is not yours. His voice lowered. Do not forget who paid for your education. I had heard that sentence for 12 years. What he forgot was that scholarships covered most of my tuition. My parents had paid $17,000. Since graduation, I had given them or Natalie more than $46,000. I had records of every transfer. I have not forgotten anything, I said. Then act grateful. Gratitude is not a lifelong debt. He hung up. An hour later, Natalie texted me a photograph of the restaurant. A banner above the main bar read, Lo Amain Hanars Americas Evarbidie Haros. Under the picture, she wrote some of us create real impact instead of collecting plaques. I saved the message. Then I received a call from Owen. Ms. Bennett, I think you should know your sister plans to disable the foundation feed. Can she? Not during the contracted public service segment. If she interrupts it, the media company can suspend the whole system. Meanness. Sponsor displays everything. Does she know that? I told her. She said her parents would handle you. I thanked him and asked why he was helping me. His answer was simple. My sister lives in one of the counties protected by Beacon Grid. She got a tornado warning last spring. She and her kids reached shelter 3 minutes before their house lost its roof. For a moment, I could not speak. This was why I had done the work. Not for my parents. Not for a medal. For 3 minutes that could separate a family from tragedy. I will not interfere with the restaurant system. Owen continued. But I will not help anyone block the official feed. The broadcast will run as contracted. That is all I want. On Thursday, the foundation's producer asked if I wanted to change my acceptance speech. The original version thanked my parents for teaching me perseverance. I deleted that line. In its place, I wrote I dedicate this medal to every person whose work was dismissed because it was quiet, complicated, or invisible, until the moment lives depended on it. Then I added one more paragraph. I did not name my family. I would not need to. On Friday morning, I flew to Washington with Dr. Ross and Marcus. As the plane climbed above the clouds, my phone filled with photographs from Lumen. My parents stood beside Natalie beneath the hero banner. Mom wore a silver dress I had bought her for my graduate school ceremony. The ceremony she left early because Natalie had a headache. Dad wore the watch I had given him after my first patent. Natalie stood between them, smiling for cameras. The magazine's live stream had already begun. Rachel sent me one final message. We confirmed the forged documents. Our legal team is here. We are continuing coverage in the public interest. I should have felt victorious. Instead, I felt like a little girl staring out a school auditorium door, waiting for parents who never came. Dr. Ross saw my face. You can still stop this, she said. Stop what? Hoping they will become different people before the night is over. I looked at the 4 reserved seats in the ceremony program. 2 were occupied by people who had earned them. 2 remained empty. I think I stopped hoping on Sunday, I said. But when the lights dimmed and the audience rose, I glanced toward those empty seats anyway. At 8:41 p.m. Eastern Time, the Foundation's national broadcast began. At Lumen, it was 7:41. The restaurant was full. City officials, business owners, firefighters, influencers, and magazine guests filled every table. Natalie had positioned herself near the central bar, where photographers could capture her beneath the hero banner. The first public service video appeared on Lumen's screens. According to Owen, Natalie smiled because it showed rescue teams and dramatic storm footage. It matched her theme. Then the host in Washington announced the National Medal for Civil Protection. My photograph appeared on all 23 screens. Natalie's smile disappeared. In Washington, I heard applause. In Chicago, silverware stopped moving. The host described Beacon Grid, the 11,000 successful evacuations, and the communities scheduled to receive new systems through the $200,000 grant. Then she said, "Please welcome this year's recipient, Engineer Claire Bennett." At Lumen, every head turned toward my parents. They had told several guests that I was an office technician who could not attend the fundraiser because I was too busy. Now I was walking onto a stage before a national audience. I accepted the medal from the Foundation's chairwoman. It was heavier than I expected. Under the stage lights, I could see Dr. Ross standing and Marcus clapping above his head. The 2 empty family seats were visible behind them. I stepped to the microphone. Good evening. My name is Claire Bennett. My voice was steady. Emergency warnings are strange things. When they work, people often forget them. There is no headline for the family that leaves 5 minutes early. the hospital that switches power without losing a patient, or the child who reaches a shelter before the roof comes down. At Lumen, Owen later told me, no one spoke. I thanked my team, the county coordinators, the volunteer firefighters, and the residents who tested our early equipment. Then I reached the paragraph I had rewritten. I dedicate this medal to everyone whose work has been called pointless because it was quiet, complicated, or invisible. Please remember this: being ignored does not make your contribution small. Sometimes the work no one applauds is the work holding the whole room together. The audience in Washington rose. At Lumen, several firefighters stood too. One began clapping. Then another. Within seconds, most of the restaurant was on its feet. My parents remained seated. Natalie rushed toward Owen at the control station. A small wireless microphone had been clipped to her dress for the magazine's interviews. My mother held a second microphone because she was scheduled to introduce the charity announcement. Both microphones were live. Natalie hissed, "Turn her off." Owen said, "It is a contracted national feed. To do not care. Put my logo back." My mother pushed through the crowd. "Shut that girl up," she snapped. "This is Natalie's night." Her voice rolled through the restaurant speakers. The applause stopped. Mom did not realize the microphone was live. Owen pointed to it, but she misunderstood the gesture. "And call Claire tonight," she continued. "Tell her if she wants to remain part of this family, she will transfer that grant money to Natalie. 200,000 is wasted on alarms for strangers when her own sister's restaurant is in debt." No one moved. Not a fork, not a chair, not a camera. My father stood and reached for the microphone. "Lenda, stop." That made it worse. His voice was amplified too. Mom finally looked down and saw the green light. Her face went white. Across the country, I was still speaking. "This medal does not belong to one person," I said. "It belongs to every stranger who chose to protect someone they might never meet." Inside Lumen, a firefighter near the bar said, "Those strangers are the people she saved." Rachel stepped forward with her press folder. "Mrs. Bennett, is this event registered with the National Public Safety Foundation?" Natalie grabbed her microphone. "Of course it is. The foundation says it is not." Rachel held up the forged letter. "Did you create this document?" Natalie looked at my parents. My father moved first. "This is a misunderstanding. Claire handles the technical side. She must have failed to file something." For the first time that night, the restaurant did not turn toward Natalie. It turned toward him. Rachel said, "The foundation confirmed that Claire had no involvement. This letter uses her name without permission." Owen displayed the foundation's official correction on the menu screens as the live ceremony ended. "Lumamais narzad foendid iam faenderis r. No donatelins will be a CP to the room erupted." Guests demanded refunds. A city official asked whether public grant equipment had been used to promote a false charity partnership. The firefighters removed Lumen's event badges from their uniforms. The magazine photographer kept taking pictures, but Natalie no longer posed for them. My mother tried one last defense. "This is Claire's fault," she said into the microphone. "She has always been jealous of her sister." Owen played Natalie's message from the control tablet, the one she had sent through the restaurant system earlier that afternoon. "If Claire appears on any screen, cut the feed. I do not care what the contract says. My parents will make her give us the grant after tonight." It had been stored automatically with the event commands. The mystery was over. Everyone could see the plan. In Washington, I had no idea the open microphone had captured anything. I finished my speech, walked offstage, and hugged Dr. Ross. Then Marcus handed me his phone. Lumen's livestream had more than 80,000 viewers. The comments moved too fast to read. At the top was a short video clip titled "Demons Nate Ionel Medel INRG of a Siester Publizefefagirant." I watched 7 seconds. "Shut that girl up." I turned off the phone. For years, I had imagined what it would feel like if people finally heard how my family spoke to me. I expected satisfaction. What I felt was grief. Not for the family I was losing. For the family I had spent so long pretending I had. By midnight, the story was national. The foundation issued a statement confirming my award, the restricted purpose of the grant, and the unauthorized use of its name. The magazine published its investigation instead of the planned restaurant feature. The headline read "Restaurantes Shichala IGHTX poses fargid partiner sipe. India falas attempito silenci nate aunel hanari." Lumen's creditors noticed. So did the city grant office. The next morning, now they called me 17 times. My mother called 12. My father sent one message. "Fix this. Not congratulations. Not we are sorry. Fix this." I took a screenshot and turned off my phone. I spent Saturday visiting the National Emergency Operations Center with the other medal recipients. For the first time in my life, I allowed myself to enjoy an achievement without managing my family's reaction. On Sunday, they came to my apartment. Natalie wore sunglasses, though the sky was gray. My mother looked exhausted. My father carried a folder. I did not invite them inside. We need to talk as a family, he said. You can talk from the hallway. Natalie removed her glasses. Her eyes were swollen. You set me up. I did not forge a letter. You knew the broadcast would appear. Your restaurant agreed to show it. Mom stepped toward me. You could have warned us. I invited you to sit in the room where I received the medal. She looked away. Dad opened the folder. Inside was a prepared statement claiming the open microphone comments had been read and taken out of context. We need you to sign this, he said. I read the first paragraph and handed it back. Lumen could close. That is not my responsibility. Natalie's voice sharpened. You have money. I have a restricted project grant. Then use your own savings. There was the truth again. She did not want reconciliation. She wanted rescue. How much do you owe? She hesitated. 142,000. My father had told me 87. Home. Different people. I later learned she had borrowed from vendors, a private lender, 2 friends, and my parents. She had used some of the money to pay for followers, designer clothes, and a luxury car she claimed belonged to a sponsor. Mom began to cry. We could lose our house. That caught me. My parents had used their home as security for Natalie's private loan. Why would you do that? Dad's shoulders sagged. Because she said the magazine feature would lead to investors. And my award was pointless. No one answered. I realized they had not come to apologize because they understood the harm. They had come because their favorite child's choices finally threatened them. Claire. Mom whispered, please. We made mistakes. Name one. She stared at me. Name one specific thing you did to me. I repeated. Her mouth opened, but no words came. Dad became angry. We do not have time for therapy language. Then you do not have time for my money. I started to close the door. Natalie pushed her hand against it. If Lumen fails, everyone will blame you. No. I said. For once, they have the microphones. I closed the door. The legal consequences arrived quickly. Natalie agreed to a civil settlement with the foundation rather than face a fraud lawsuit. She had to publish a correction, refund every ticket, and donate the remaining event proceeds to an independent emergency relief charity. The city suspended Lumen from its promotional grant program. The magazine canceled the feature. Several vendors demanded payment. Lumen closed 6 weeks later. I did not celebrate the employees losing their jobs. I helped Owen and 9 others find positions through contacts in Chicago's hospitality network. When Natalie learned that, she accused me of trying to make myself look like a hero. She still did not understand. Helping people was never a performance to me. My parents sold their vacation cabin to pay the portion of Natalie's debt secured against their home. They did not lose the house, but they lost the comfort they had expected in retirement. I could have prevented that by writing a check. I chose not to. Revenge is often described as destruction. Mine was simpler. I stopped protecting people from the cost of what they had done. 3 months after the ceremony, my mother mailed me a 12-page letter. Most of it explained her childhood, her fear that Natalie was fragile, and her belief that I never seemed to need anyone. Near the end, she wrote, "Maybe we treated your strength as permission to neglect you." It was the first honest sentence she had ever given me. I replied with 3 lines. Strength did not mean I needed less love. It meant I survived without it. If you want a relationship, begin with the truth and expect no money. My father did not speak to me for almost a year. Natalie never apologized. Mom eventually started seeing a counselor. We now have coffee once a month in public. Our relationship is careful and incomplete, but it is honest. She asks about my work. When she forgets and begins making excuses for Natalie, I end the visit. Boundaries feel cruel only to people who benefited when you had none. The $200,000 grant installed Beacon Grid in 14 more communities. The first completed site was in Oklahoma, where a school superintendent invited me to test the alert system with students and emergency crews. On the wall of the new control room, they placed a small plaque with my name. I almost asked them to remove it. Old habits. Then a 10-year-old girl approached me. Her family had survived a tornado 2 years earlier. "Are you the lady who made the warning?" she asked. I helped. She studied the metal ribbon around my neck. The foundation had asked me to wear it for the opening. "My mom says the warning saved us." I knelt so we were eye to eye. "Your mom saved you." She heard the warning and acted. The girl hugged me before I could stand. That evening, I sat alone in my hotel and watched the full recording of my acceptance speech for the first time. I saw the empty seats. They still hurt. But then the camera moved across the audience. I saw Dr. Ross crying. I saw Marcus cheering. I saw engineers, firefighters, dispatchers, doctors, teachers, and strangers standing for work my family had dismissed. The empty seats no longer looked like proof that I was unloved. They looked like space. Space for people who could see me clearly. 1 year after Lumen closed, Rachel interviewed me for a follow-up story. She asked whether I regretted letting the broadcast continue when I knew it might embarrass my family. I did not broadcast their cruelty, I told her. They did. Was it revenge? I thought about the kitchen table, the canceled flights, the forged letter, my mother's voice ordering someone to shut me up. Then I thought about the girl in Oklahoma. Justice is not always making someone suffer, I said. Sometimes it is simply refusing to disappear so they can remain comfortable. That became the final line of Rachel's article. It also became the rule by which I live. My parents once believed they could choose which daughter the world was allowed to see. They thought attention was something they controlled, like a seat at a dinner table or a photograph in a magazine. They were wrong. The night every screen showed my face, I did not steal my sister's spotlight. I stepped out of the darkness they had assigned me. And once I learned to stand in my own light, no one in my family could ever make me invisible again.